not at anything more than that, but at base. And so that obviously isn't a great place to be, as we want to incentivize teachers teaching over the summer, because it has a direct impact not only on our student achievement and student mental health, but also on our FTE, as that funding formula is so fun. So any questions at this point? Mike, I rambled on. Yep. Fill in the holes for me.
Well, I think when Tom and I first started having these conversations and in helping him understand where we were at, and how we had gotten there, where we were, if you look at like lacrosse's $20 per hour for enrichment classes, most of them do pay the regular per diem for that teacher for an actual credit class. Ours right now are, even though we're very academic in our focus, it is truly considered probably an enrichment class for comparable purposes. But if you look at lacrosse's, they also tack on an extra quarter hour for every 1 hour of taught. And just logistically, so actually that works out for, if they're teaching a 4-hour class, they'd get $100 as opposed to $80, and works out to be $25 per hour, because they tack that on in recognition of their prep. And when we had that, there was just a lot of, I guess the best way I can say it is, you'd have those unique things and you wouldn't really have a good, if someone's on to teach the entire, if it's 20 days, 15 days, however many days we're planning to do this, if someone's on for that and they have to have a day where they can't work, they have a doctor's appointment or something, so they get a sub. Do we pay that person for the whole day? Do we pay, an hourly rate? And there was a lot of those things that, quite honestly, the morning, because of the difference amount of times that they were here, it just became easier to say, you know what, for that morning class, whether you started yours at 7:30 or had to stick around till 12, we're gonna go with the 120, or at that time it was $100 per day. In the afternoon, it was 25 per class, and the classes probably ran 45 to 50 minutes. But we did, some of them might have stretched all the way, just by the time they got cleaned up and everything or got ready for the next day, they were here for a full hour 15 minutes. And this made it just a lot easier. And I think the staff, appreciated that side of it too. More of a salary type thing. But when we got talking about it, I looked at Tom and we were, okay, we know that summer school, needs to be increased. The community needs it. The students need it. What we're not sure is how our staff is going to, view summer school this summer. They've went very hard for a very long time now. And, I think this should incentivize it a little bit. Hopefully they do recognize that, we're going out on a limb here, and we do want our teachers to teach this. I mean, we have accepted, teachers from other districts that live in the Viroqua area, or even some that drive down for that summer job. That's fine, but we would like our teachers to be able to teach this. I think it's going to be exciting. We're going to have some good programming, and we should pay people accordingly. I did ask Tom this morning, I said, it's a lot easier to make this decision when we have the ESSER funding. And technically, we'll probably have the ESSER funding for 2 summers. Correct, Tom? I mean, that's in technicality, we will.
For sure.
But, is this sustainable? I think by the time we're done paying this is where we would probably be anyways. I think it's a good number, I feel. I think that's in what Tom's saying is 100% right. When I reached out to the other business managers for the comparables, I kind of got the same response. Yeah, we're probably going to have to do something, and so I don't want to say we're ahead of the game, because we're probably right along with the game that they're getting to now also. Anything else, Tom?
Question.
Yep.
Sure.
Is there a reason why for like morning class for everything that it can be $30 an hour and then pay for like an hour prep time, rather than having a morning time, a morning one be a block of time. That way, if we have subs, what the sub gets paid is their sub pay for that. It's all then per hour rather than a block, and pay them it might not be that much difference in pay, but it just would streamline it that everybody is paid.
So in that morning classroom, they have I can't tell you exactly because I think it does vary based on how many kids sign up and stuff, but they have a paid prep in there.
But
so
like
the kids go to specials and they're without children in their classroom for 45 minutes.
But where lacrosse has an extra 0.25 for every hour, if we would just say it's $30 an hour, but you get paid an hour extra for the week, or something, just to keep it all consistent. That's my only.
The only thing is I think I'd want to see how we worded that, because again, I don't know that lacrosse. I don't believe lacrosse has that same prep arrangement that we do, where they go to a specials. When they're $20 an hour, they're with the students, I think, the entire morning, and then they're expected outside of that time to prep for their class.
Sure, but I mean, I'm just giving an example of like using something like that, but keeping them all at just an hourly rate.
Sure.
Because at some point, maybe our morning classes change the hours, or we, I don't know. Students aren't there at 7:45 either. They arrive at 8, right? So there is some things in there. So can we do it in hourly rate?
We could do it just a straight $30 per hour. And without adding the extra prep, because like I said, they do get that prep in there. And if anybody doesn't get a prep and says, listen, I need an extra hour a day, we could, or 15 minutes, 20, 45 minutes, whatever that normal prep is, we could definitely do something about that.
Years ago, they did teach straight through. They didn't have the prep time in there, and we added it. And now they have the prep time in the day. I mean, it's really not a big deal if unless for bookkeeping purposes or something, it's easier the other way. But if it's not a problem, just to change it to an hourly rate, that would maybe be look consistent to everybody.
No, that's fine. It really hasn't been an issue, and maybe it would be this year. The reason we go with the instead of an afternoon rate is, a number of them only would have taught 1 or 2 classes. You know what I'm saying? They would have taught the first and the third hour, but not the second hour, or whatever that was. Usually it'd be the first and the second hour. Some only taught 1 hour of it. And then that was easier that way, where when they signed up for the morning, they were there the whole morning, but it really doesn't change anything as far as that goes.
Right. And so that's just, to me, it looks like if it's not this per hour, to me, morning gets paid much more than afternoon. And we want people doing both morning and afternoon classes, because they're just, there's enrichment, yes, but there's a lot of learning going on in the afternoon. And I'm guessing that they're going to even build on it more based on some of our needs, and our enrichment in the afternoon won't be.
Yeah, I guess I just want to make sure. Basically, they're getting the same. 120 for the 4 hours in the morning.
Right, that's why I didn't know why we have it separated. Why not have it as?
It's just so that when they know they're signing up for the morning, that they're not. Yeah, I mean, what it was I'm staying till 12 o'clock because my kids are going to lunch. Should I get an extra 15 minutes? Yeah, that type of thing.
Right. Or
I got here at 7:30. Should I? It was like,
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, it really doesn't matter.
And I too didn't know, like, is there anybody that ever comes in and teaches until 10 and then goes, has an appointment? And so if it was
And
an
that did
hourly-
happen too. Yes. And that definitely would be easier on a per hour basis.
Right.
That definitely for us would be an easier thing.
Well, I appreciate the time put into this and the increase and looking at the fact that we can, potentially get more students into summer school, and we know where the need is out there. It's the question is, can we, get the students to come, and maybe some of the students who were at home the entire time this year through virtual, maybe they'll come on campus as things have, stabilized. And by June, it should be even better yet in terms of vaccinations and downward trends as they continue. So I appreciate the effort that's being put into this. And then it's very clear, what's happening.
Yeah, the only thing with that hourly and with the change there is with that additional prep time. I don't know. We'll just have to decide how much prep you would get for, like you said, Amanda, we just have to decide on what that is. So for 4 hours, they got 45 minutes of prep last year. Is that correct, Mike?
Well, and if it's already
Yeah, it's built into their schedule. Yeah.
we wouldn't have to do the add-on.
Right. You're right. Yep.
If it's not, if something happens and you're unable to build it in, then you'd be able to individually do that and add it for people.
Well, and that's the thing is, with something as large as summer school, not everybody fits in one of these boxes, right? We've got most of the people, but there are going to be certain situations where, yes, Amanda, maybe somebody in the morning is teaching, they're only teaching for an hour or two, and then we have to adjust there and bounce them to, that hourly rate.
And it's, I think, the logic back when we went to that morning rate as opposed to the hourly was more along the lines of, like we do with a teaching salary. It's so much per day, and for 188 days, you get this annual salary. And we have summer school teachers who will come in on the Sunday night or the Sunday before and put in 15 hours before that first week. And others will roll in that morning and can roll with their teaching, and everything too. And it's kind of the same with our salaried teachers is, it's so much per day, and that's what we're doing. And I think that was the logic was, not to disincentivize or reward anyone for, approaching it the different way. We don't want to penalize someone that doesn't have a class that requires that, because this is what they do and this is how they do it and everything, where we don't want to also make that other person feel. And I think when we went through that last time, I think a lot of them just said, okay, I get this, this $100 pays me to have the class ready. That's when you get into that whole substitute conversation of, well, someone else got the class ready for 20 days, but you rolled in, you're going to get basically that prep pay and everything like that. But that is pretty small. It is.
Question in the chat there, Mike. Are you thinking of including bus drivers for summer school this year because of possible dollars available, and what would the compensation be if so?
Okay. Our transportation for the bus drivers in the past has been basically the extra routes for the park and rec, the shuttle. We didn't do any home to school transportation other than if an IEP required it. We did, Tom and I, talked about this. Again, I'm not 100% sure of driver availability, what routes would end up looking like. I think those are decisions we would have to make, and they would get paid for sure at their regular rate, their regular driving rate. If they're doing regular home to school transportation, I'd have to look to see how we handled the shuttle, but I'm pretty sure that's at their regular rate also. And so we just have to figure out what we're gonna do on that. I mean, there's no, I guess the right word to say it, Tom, would be there's no requirement, correct, to do home to school transportation for summer school. But you know, it may be something that we would want to look into. I just don't know that we would have the drivers or the ability to staff the routes.
Right. Okay. Do we want to spend a little bit of time talking about, even though it's not in a board approved position yet, but the summer school principal compensation? I'm not sure if it's not a, Kim, what are your thoughts on that? If that's not a,
Well, it's not, you didn't live, well, it is summer school, but
It's summer school.
it's summer school, so we could talk about that. I don't know what you guys are thinking about that, or if you want to wait till next month, till after we approve the job description and the hiring's done.
Yep.
And the other thing I'm wondering is, maybe for all of us that doesn't know what it entails, should have a rough idea of, you know, the number of days it's going to entail, or we'll know the duties from the job description, but you know, when you break that down some, you know, I think we're going to need to know the number of days entailed. Do you want to pay on a per diem, a daily rate, or do you want to pay for the whole? Because assuming they'd be doing some work, you know, after school and beforehand, afterhand.
Yep. So what we would like to do
it would be a rate for the summer school program, but we probably need you guys to look at the amount of time it's going to take, what it's going to be, and that kind of stuff. And maybe next month we could bring that compensation back. Angie, Vicky, you got any thoughts on that?
I think what we would like to do, Kim, just before that, is we would love to do a planning, you know, rate, like a stipend at the end of, you know, May or something along those lines, and then a per diem, because it does make a difference on how many days. You know, a certain dollar amount can be really diminished quickly or bumped up very quickly, you know, if you do a shorter program.
Right.
In our discussion so far, that's exactly where Tom and I have been kind of landing, Kim, is, you know, we don't know if this program is going to be 2 3-week sessions, 1 4-week session, 1 3-week session. You know, I mean, all that's, you know, we're working through, and to put an amount on for the entire summer, that wouldn't be fair to that person. But the planning and that, understanding that they, you know, still have a teaching job, and that there's going to be considerable time outside of his workday to be able to do that. We do need to allow for some additional days outside of that. And like, you know, Tom and I figure the week before, if we are not having summer school that first week that we're on vacation, the week of the 5th or whatever that is, obviously that person is going to be very, very busy and working a lot of hours. So, you know, that planning side of things, we really do believe, you know, needs to be a number of days, or however you want to, you know, skin it.
And credit recovery, since that's part of it, you know, those things have specific hourly requirements on them. And so that makes a difference too. And the music lessons, and you've got a lot of variables when you look at beyond just the elementary program that the person's overseeing. So, yeah.
Yep.
So Vicky, Amanda, have them bring something back. Is that okay?
Definitely.
We can do that. And we'll be ready to share that then at that time.
All right. Anybody got any other questions or anything? Then our timing is good. So we can,
We do have
adjourn.
that other agenda item, Kim, of staff compensation.
yeah.
We really don't have anything for that. So.
Well, I didn't think you did. 'Cause you didn't-
We're working on stuff, Kim. I mean,
Right.
we really are, but it is, yeah, this is gonna be a tough one.
Mhm.
This is gonna be a tough one.
Right, it's gonna be very difficult to work through, and I don't think it hurts for that to just, drag a little bit, because we don't have to be, if whatever timeline we might have, we don't have to hurry, because it's better to get it right than to hurry.
Absolutely.
I would.
Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second. Okay, second Amanda. We are vote all in favor.
I
Aye.
Aye. And we are adjourned, and we're pretty close